everyone, we are diving into 2 Samuel this week, and it's also the first week that we get to kind of intertwine in between the books. So we also got 1 Chronicles 1 through 5, and let's take a look. So 2 Samuel 1 through 4 was basically all with leading up to David becoming the official king of Israel. One thing that I love within these chapters is how much you see David ask the Lord. I love it because he's talking to God. This is the very beginning, before he's even official king, he constantly inquires of the Lord. He doesn't move unless God says move. He doesn't do things unless God says to do it. And there is something so humble and beautiful about his heart in the beginning of him being king. The humility and grace that he shows with the mercy as well. You can just tell he's been through the wilderness. You can tell the Lord has been taking him through the refiner's fire. So there is something so beautiful about David's heart in the beginning of his kingship because of those things, those traits. And it is to be admired how much he seeks the Lord before making decisions, before going to battle, before doing anything. He seeks the Lord and his guidance. In the beginning, it's precious because he seeks the Lord in all he does. And because of that, he wins every battle. It really highlights how much more we walk righteously when we seek the Lord's guidance first. He will never steer us wrong. You cannot go the wrong route if you listen to the Lord. Even if it might look crazy to the world, and even if it might look absolutely stupid, it's just like going up against a giant. Like, where did he get that idea? The Lord, the Holy Spirit living in him. And so that looked crazy to everybody else. However, we know the outcome of it. Also, what I love about these chapters, these 4 small chapters, is that David does not dishonor Saul. So even though Saul is dead and Jonathan is gone and pretty much all his sons are gone, he really does not have to show honor or respect, but he does. In 2 Samuel 1 and in 4, he shows twice in a row of how he will not approve of anyone disrespecting Saul and his children. He says, "Why were you not afraid to kill the Lord's anointed one?" He goes on to say, "Kill him." So the man thrust the sword into him and killed him. "You have condemned yourself," David said, "for you yourself confessed that you killed the Lord's anointed one." So he still, even after death, honored Saul. He still showed a humble heart before the Lord to honor his former anointed one in death even. Granted, King David sitting there as the official anointed one before the Lord. However, he still honors the previous anointed one. He does not take from that. And he makes it very known to the whole nation that he will not stand for this. In chapter 4, you see it again. This guy comes forward and he says, "Today the Lord has given my Lord the king revenge on Saul and his entire family." David said to him, "The Lord who saves me from all my enemies is my witness. Someone once told me Saul is dead, thinking he was bringing me good news, but I seized him and killed him at Ziklag. That's the reward I gave him for his news. How much more should I reward evil men who have killed an innocent man in his own house and on his own bed? Shouldn't I hold you responsible for his blood and rid the earth of you?" His heart there, his passion to stand righteously before the Lord and honor his former anointed one is to be honored. And he made a vow and promise to Jonathan. You see the heart, the true heart of a good man. In this instance, he was so good and he showed such respect. More of us would respect and value people like that even as they're alive. How much better would the world be? I mean, even we just witnessed David through the wilderness, going through it all, Saul trying to kill him, and yet he still honored him with the 2 times he didn't kill him when he had the chance, with all the respect and honor he gave him and Jonathan. I just think that says a ton about the character and heart of David during this time. And that's why we go through wildernesses, because they do prune us, they do sanctify us, they do consecrate us to have the heart of the Father more so than ever. Because when we get everything we want and do everything we want and don't have any trials, sometimes that makes us brats. I don't know any way else to say it, but it can make us brats before the Lord. Unfortunately, show ugly hearts. That's where we should always be thankful for our wildernesses. So as we were talking about in the beginning, David asked the Lord about many things. And one thing the Lord did tell David to do was to go back to Hebron. And so he does. However, unfortunately, in Hebron, he also has many wives. So in 2 Samuel 3, we see where David's sons are born here. And we have Amnon, Daniel, Absalom, Adonijah, and two other kids. And these are just the boys. And they're all from different wives. This is where we don't ever see if David asked if he was allowed to marry these wives. We do not see that. And we actually do know, and David would know too, that back in Deuteronomy 17:17, God actually warns kings not to have many wives because of what's about to happen. God truly does warn in Deuteronomy 17:17 for kings not to marry and have many wives and to store up too much gold and silver, because he knows our hearts are corrupt. He knows how easily we are swayed and our flesh takes over. And you cannot possibly have that many wives and not be caving to fleshly desires and not gaining self-control, that beautiful fruit of the Spirit of self-control. God has never, ever said, I want you to have more than one wife. So this is all man-made. So I want to make that very clear, because I remember when I first heard about the Bible, I was like, oh, it's disgusting. Like, God would allow that? No, God never did. The Bible's not about a bunch of perfect people and him telling them what to do. He's trying to tell them the right way to do things. He's trying to tell them how they should act and behave. However, the Bible's filled with a lot of people who take what they want from God and then discard the rest. And so Deuteronomy 17:17 was specifically for kings not to have many wives. And unfortunately, David decided to avoid that one and caved to his flesh. I don't know any other way to say it. And what came from that? He didn't seek the Lord and ask for which woman should I take before you. Unfortunately, he just took it into his own hand and married whoever he wanted. What came from that is rape, murder, greed, rebellion, jealous fighting among the half-brothers. And you will get to all that. Unfortunately, you'll see the tragedy of the end of David's reign. Like, what good came from it? Nothing. Nothing good comes from not seeking the Lord, not asking him what we should do first. We cannot go wrong in our steps if we seek him and ask him before taking the next step. His word is a light to our feet. And spending time with him in the secret place, just waiting on him before we speak, before we do anything, is everything. And it can save us from massive heartache, things that didn't have to be. So that was 2 Samuel 1-4, and everything kind of what I felt the Lord wanted me to kind of touch on for this video. And then, as you know, 1 Chronicles 1-5 was a lot of the genealogy, and those should be honored. Don't just skim through that. Look at it, notice it. I caught something this time that I never caught before with like Nathan being the son of Bathsheba. I never even really put that together. So yeah, don't just skip right through those. Make sure that you're paying attention, and if you miss it this time, it's fine. Hopefully by the end of reading the Bible through a year, you'll want to go back and do it all over again. So just keep listening, keep reading, just keep being baptized in his word every day. Love to hear your thoughts on 2 Samuel so far and how you like kind of interweaving the Psalms and the other books in. Comment below your thoughts. I hope you all have a blessed day. God bless you all.